Greetings from a new location for the Hostage Diaries. Today I'm going to kind of free-verse it, freestyle, free basing, because I am breastfed at the right middle age, my midlife crisis. Still on the nipple, Formula One joke. Detention Breakfast Club, but I'm a server, the Sloppy Joe school lunches. For the sacred, almighty, every man a king, St. Louis King of France. Sloppy Joe Buffet. Good old water boy. Can't even go out in the rain unless I get wet, Rainbow. Because I am forced out of my shell. They're going to pry me out. I mean, it's some of the worst. I mean, we're talking about one of the worst mismanagement logics in the history of the world. They don't speak. It's always these charAIDs, Showtime. You have home box office, you got Skinamax, or you got Showtime. Showtime charAIDs. So they send me out there to figure it out. And show me my deductive, alien, telekinesis, telepathy, ESP, skills, read, trying to figure out what's going on, and then adjust accordingly. But the problem is, I mean, a lesson that would take literally like 30 minutes. Hey, let's have a discussion here. Let's have a board of directors, a strategy, a consultation, consigliere, you know, an assistant, somebody to say, hey, this is a problem. Are you doing this on purpose, or are you just mistaken, you know, because I have so many things going on in my head that a lot of times I tend to do stupid stuff repetitively. And so then, therefore, remnants of my little product shout out there for the Ezra Cornell Bourbon Brothers. Not bad. So, yeah, there is the notoriety. Am I doing this on purpose? Because, like I said, I am overwhelmed with material right now. Not to mention my ADHD tends to get worse because I don't have any structure. I have no structure in my life. It's all scratch, freebase, freestyling. So then, therefore, I tend to not get anything accomplished. And so, yeah. But so, rather than that's the Showtime. Out in the woods, hunter, smart, don't say a word, animals can't speak, sacred livestock. So yeah, I got to figure everything out with this ESP Telepathy or whatever. Rather than, like I said, a 30-minute conversation, it will take 3 to 5 months to set up a scheme, to show me something, the bright light, the burning bush, you know, that sort of thing. The signfelds, semiotics. Well, the joke is, this is why I think they do this. The mob, many factions of the mob being they, who benefit, that are part of the matrix that I provide free value and energy to, that they want to convert into the cash machine, the overbuy, the game I'm addicted to because of EMPathetic, because they are never wrong, the infallible Cornell Bourbon Brothers. Field of dreams, feel that there will come infallibility. So yeah, they are never wrong. So then, therefore, I must be wrong. I'm fallible. Therefore, because I'm on the bottom of the pyramid, the V, even though I provide infallibility through the St. Louis non-connectivity to those, and that's the symbiosis of the matrix. That's the they I speak up. So yeah, I think it all goes back to trying to. It's just there's so many ways of skewering the intent. It's all done, the empathy to, therefore, the lesson. It's just been empathetic overload. I've been totally empathetic so much that I've devoted my life to walking miles and miles and miles in these worthless shoes. while losing billions or trillions of dollars to be empathetic to justify their upgrades in into the penthouse of the Cathouse, who is the gangbang Cathouse. The tricks are paying to get screwed because they take me on all these run around dungeon mazes to where I am unable to build walls. So then they're paying because of all the open, there's no fences guarding anything, and everybody's just looting the assets. So they're getting the Cathouse's getting gangbanged, and they're paying to get screwed because, well, it's going to be the ant and grasshopper, obviously, to where it seems like they're working, but you've got to look at work from what context. Sure, domestics is looking pretty darn good, but the big picture global estate is paying for the domestic party. That's why oh wow, it's real easy to do when you got a quarter of the world's wealth value tied up just in the United States. Fuck the rest. Yeah, the United States betrayed Europe and betrayed Latin America in certain contexts. When the totalitarian machine worship, of course, when you have no balance, the aristocracy is basically worthless because the mob is forcing them to just sit there and do nothing. So all they're doing is trying to prove how great cash is. Cash is so important. So then they make fun of me for having no cash. It's the cash money brothers' revenge. Because then, therefore, they show all the great things they can do with cash, when in actuality, they will not allow me to build walls to protect the cash, so their health care is buffet, competitive eating. Let's pile it on. And race to the fatter the better, that sort of mentality, which is horrific in nature. Because it has to hit a cliff eventually. Then, when the problems arise, you're going to backtrack and say, hey, what was the root cause of this bubble? And it's going to be this flawed logic that I've been trying to correct since 2009. I've been trying to correct this flawed logic since the mid-1990s, honestly. But I wasn't sure about it. I was fixing problems, but I didn't know to the extent of how bad it was. So yeah, I've been trying to correct it at least since 2008. The problem wasn't toxic assets. The problem was overvaluation of the individual, which is tied into the symbiosis matrix, which I provide energy towards. Yet I am not allowed to participate because I must be empathetic and walk miles and miles in their sacred, almighty shoes. Even though they're chopping off their feet to get some bionic legs because of the sugar bowl overdose. They overload on the sugar. And that's the way they do it. They codify everything. It's a sweet, sweet world. So they don't like the justification balance. In a sweet world, it just means that's easy, easy math. We're going to use this miracle variable and plug it in. The Higgs boson God particle or the miracle grow particle. We're going to plug that in. That's real sweet. It's diversity. It's like a Trojan horse. Like all the grains of the granulated grains of sugar or salt in there. And so it's real, it's shrinkage. But what it does is the mathematics is based upon the A and M. So then you switch A and M to M&M Mars, candy bowl. Taking candy from a baby because I am still breastfed in my midlife crisis for Formula One joke. Sloppy Joes. So, the problem is, and I know I'm what needs to be accomplished? Obviously, well, what they tried to do is, I have been desecrated. They're worried about, it's this, there you go, once again, playing every side of the coin. See, when you use math, let's say you have a certain small number of individuals who can play a lot of different sides of the coin. They're licensed to ill, they're licensed to kill. Well, the revenge that's where the Trojan number. So instead of having a small number of these superheroes, as you would, that can break these rules. Therefore, to protect the sanctity of the system, then what they've done is they've taken, instead of, let's say, 100 or 50 or 1,000 of these deities or individuals to protect the grid. Like if I built a castle, there were the Saints or the NFL. Let's use the NFL. But instead of NFL, we're going to use everybody in the stadium. We're going to pay. That's a great analogy. So rather than pay, and I'm using, I know money is the problem, but I'm using money as the metaphor here. So let's say you've got these really super high paid players. Let's convert that to superpowers like the X-Men or the Marvel superhero League of Justice. Let's convert the amount of money they are paid to the various X-Men abilities they have. But instead, the math that is being currently used is everyone in the state, the Jersey boys, anyone that can go out to the store and buy a jersey is then therefore given, they're plugged in, they're in the door, and then they can fight their way into this grid to gain power. The problem is you're way overspending the system. And so then so rather than having a small number, and so what they're doing is they're fighting to keep the game going. They're not necessarily fighting to protect the state, which is what the purpose of the Saints was, is to fight to protect be like a bank land management. That's where the whole St. Bartholomew BLM comes in. We were supposed to be able to protect the assets, but instead now, since the system is controlled, these machines are in charge of it. So the machines are sitting in the transformers and the terminators. These terminators go through, are like the politicians, and they're all based. Their power is derived from the vote equality, and then the transformers is all based upon corporate share votes. So there's variations and differences between the transformers and the terminators. The problem is they are out of control because there was supposed to be a variation of able to control this situation within. That's what we were supposed to be able to do, is maintain control. But they grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's become an avalanche and they're out of control. It's like trying to ride an avalanche. It's almost impossible because of the vast quantity. And they waited until this was a ploy. This was a revolutionary act. This was an act of revolution, no doubt about it. And they waited and Hillary is going to kill everything. She is the Armageddon. They've exchanged A&M math for M&M Mars, and that's going to be the Armageddon. It's Mardi Gras. That's what it is. So rather than paying your bills, you've got Mardi Gras. Free plastics and freedom balloons and fun and party and all this sort of stuff. And the problem is, well, so far the globe has not woken up to it because they're being undermined by this Sigma Delta Chi, bioterrorism, chemical warfare. So they are then, therefore, undermining the structure. They want to turn everything into lava. The whole planet, like 2012, all the sedimentary bases is going to be devolved into a casino, a game grid, a matrix, or the Tron, or any number of metaphorical variations. And I'm not saying that definitively. I'm trying to give you a visual, perspective of what the actual system would have become. So when this takes place, that they are desperately addicted to the power, which is based upon worshiping the dollar rather than and so that's when you get into all these variations. Most of the world did not participate, so then they are at a disadvantage. That's why the United States is fighting so hard to make this happen. because they have an advantage. Sure. I mean, they were greedy. Greed is good right now. Unless this boomerangs, greed could be seen as good. They are in touch because they're using the infallibility field of dreams, the Bourbon brothers, the infallibility field of dreams, and therefore is based upon this quantitative totalitarian accumulation tonnage, and they were busy. You know, they built and built it. The problem was they were borrowing to build. You know, they didn't pay, they wanted to double dip, so they didn't pay their bills. They just borrowed and borrowed and borrowed, and they were borrowing from my wallet. And then now they're trying to just make me insolvent, and they're trying to desecrate me and destroy the bank and transfer all the values into their individual structures, and then just declare bankruptcy, and then that's done with. Transfer all the money out. Then the game starts. Then they have the advantage. So right now, the United States is at an advantage. And it's the problem of they have to charade. That's why the media is so vital. Because they've got to be able to cover this up. Because it literally could, the whole thing could implode. This whole house of cards could implode within a matter of hours. If some parts of the globe got decided, well, we're going to launch a campaign against the logic. Their math, their accounting, they're using really false accounting. They're accounting as Trojan viruses, malware, worm, hydras. You know, that's what the Matrix really is. It's these evolving Matrix-head things, which are all powered through Louisiana, which I happen to make a bunch of the keys and a whole bunch of the credit cards. That's the vital interest. I want to leave. I think the best thing for my interest is to move to another part of the world, to build a trade bridge from Latin America to Louisiana to Europe as a beginning, then branch off into Africa and into Asia. But we right now need to, but they will not allow us. We're not allowed to compete because we're their magic stolen wallet. So I'm not allowed to compete. And those in Louisiana have sold their soul. The Bourbon brothers are so individual proud, even though they're going to be the runts of the SEC, they're willing to sell their soul, which means they're willing to, by doing nothing, it allows us to go on. So yeah, basically what they did was they killed the cops, and they replaced them with a bunch of buffet Paul Blart Rent-A-Cop mall cops. And they're all based upon this sprawl, expansion, which is the individual wealth generated. But in actuality, law is supposed to be based upon math and science. Whereas in the United States, law is based upon popularity. The law does not make a lot of sense in this country. There's no logical foundation to it because it's based upon, there's really no balance in it at all. So, the law is based upon popularity rather than math and science, reality, because they have this big magic Jack in the Beanstalk seed. They have this unlimited cash supply that they can just print as much as they want. And it's what you got to look at. And this is where the flaw in logic comes from. It's, you take an individual worth 25, I'm just using arbitrary values, 25 in the normal context, and the system elevates that individual to 100. And I'm saying through public school education or private school education, through clubs affiliations, through material goods accumulations, through college degrees, through doctoral degrees. You take a person who starts off as a 25 and you raise them to 100. Problem is, they're paying off these institutions that give them this step up, but the institutions are not managing it. They're not paying for what they're giving. So, you've got this person that goes from 25 to 100. Let's call that freedom. But, I mean, freedom is an arbitrary fantasy. We're not talking about the ability to govern yourself. Freedom, sure, you can vote. We're talking about taking a nobody that's living on the street or at the base level and putting them up in the penthouse, where you got from 200 a room to 15,000 a night per room, based on their ability to. It's like the DMV. You can pass your driver test, which is so that ability there. But the problem is the people that are elevating the political system is domestically oriented. They are spending global dollars. So of course they don't give a fuck about that. We'll just call that an oil well in the Gulf of Mexico. Convert them folks to the pro system. Problem is they're detracting from the value elsewhere. So they have to fill in the gap. But they want to be in control because they've elevated to this faulty level of taking somebody from 25 to 100. Yeah, they just got greedy. And they tried, I mean, it really is based on greed. They should have just allowed me to evolve. They were worried about the competition. Obviously. They did not, they saw Louisiana as a threat. And so they killed the competition. They shot it down. So then Latin America did not evolve, and then Europe needed a strong alliance. So then they sabotaged Europe. So then Europe is drowning in bureaucracy. And then also Latin America never evolved properly because there was no leadership, because the leadership was sabotaged. That's why St. Louis, King of France, Cathedral is in New Orleans, but they burned it down for a Budweiser party. Was Mackenzie revenge? Party my animal. Yeah, they burned it down, and they made it. That was supposed to be the bank. They burned it down to use the assets. So they turned it into a bunch of hookers. The Catholic hookers that paid to get screwed. The material girls. They're tricks. You know, that's all they are. They're tricks. They pay to John, across St. John the Baptist Cathedral in Savannah, St. John's Episcopal. That's why horse racing is the sport of kings. And St. John's is more the individuality. Home Depot, every sacred individual who does not have a big picture concern. Yet, they are sabotaging my plot from managing my global estate. So therefore, that's the problem. So they can get a bit more. They weren't happy just going from 25 to 100. They wanted to go from 25 to 100 to 200. So by sabotaging me, it jumps them from 25 to 100 to 200. Makes them even more valuable. So then they have an even bigger advantage because Jesus saves, praise the Lord. Even though they worship the machine as their God. And the politicians are their gods, or these healthcare systems, or these pills, or whatever. You know, they don't really, it's all an electric illusion, Wizard of Oz sort of thing. Because if you take out this big chunk of energy, it drops back down. Then you got the differences. You've been spending all this money. Then you got to pay the difference. That's why it's a fight to the death. Give me liberty, give me death. Yeah. To not pay my charge card bill. That's what it's all about. Yeah, they're trying to use that while they're undermining the entirety of the system. The system is fucked. But the wealthy refuse to budge. And they wouldn't even send me any help. Zero help. I got zero. Nothing. With all of this, I get zero help. I mean, and so it's creating anarchy revolution globally. They think they're going to buy their way out of it. And they think they're going to change. Europe's going to be the new money, and the cash money brothers, they're going to show the dominance of the cash money brothers, the new money, nouveau riche, and show how unstable Europe is. I mean, they're crazy. I mean, we're talking about really fucked in which I have to be empathetic for, because they're never wrong, infallible Cornell Bourbon Brothers to the death. They got bourbon running through their blood. Straight up. Ezra Brooks. Cornell better than Ezra. Ezra Cornell was born on January 11th, the day my mother was born, and died on December 9th, the day I was born. Woo! The Being John Malkovich Day. Wallflowers, and of course, it's Sanford Salvage for me, Red Fox. Or Jesse Metcalf, who was the Ewing Oil guy. Yeah. What is bizarre logic. All they had to do was, they didn't even, I mean, they would have just cut off the spending a while ago, but they got nervous and they got greedy. They used it, they used the last recession as a wave to ride it, and they did. I got sabotaged, and they're still keeping me down. I'm still on the bench. Bench warmer here. I got $275, and I'm bottle fed Formula One Ferrari Joe. Well, Formula One's in Austin for Sloppy Joe school lunches. That Louisiana Avenue over there. That was what this all began with. But it went so well, and it worked so good. Louisiana, the Catholics never moved a fucking muscle. They just spread their legs and say, fuck me, and I will pay you to fuck me. And they're nymphomaniacs. The Cathouse, they are just getting, it's an assembly line gangbang with these B-spread Catholics with their little plaid Catholic shirts pulled up and their big old fat titties flopping in the breeze. Just fuck them to death. That's what it is. It is a Cathouse gangbang, and they're like, here, you just fucked me. Here's $1,000 from Madonna Material Girl. Praise Jesus. Now, that's what's going on. It's just anybody. It's a commune Cathouse. I mean, you gotta have some skills to get to certain levels. If you want to fuck the really good hookers, you gotta have some skills. It's like the Beau Rivage Casino Revenge for them the negligent mismanagement. So if you really want to get to the good hookers and the good Cathouse tricks, you gotta have some skills to really get to the good sculpted, the real Venuses here for the Cathouse. But yeah, here you just thank you Jesus and thank you Madonna Material Girls. Here's your money. Monopoly money, go out and play. You just come in and fuck the Cathouse. On your way. Praise Jesus, USA, freedom, woo! That's what this is all about. They never moved a muscle. Just laid there. Said, fuck me. And they just keep paying and paying and paying and paying. And now, I think what happened was they got tricked into being negligent. Because there was negligence involved in the mismanagement. So then because they're part of the system, have been brainwashed, trained like good, loyal, doggy-style Cathouse tricks to be negligent again. So then, therefore, that's forgiveness. Because that's balance there. Because there was negligence that led to this. So now the tricks have to be negligent, loyal dogs in the Cathouse. So, problem is that all this money is just getting, and so then they have to, that's why the machines take over. The M&M Mars machine. You completely devalue the basis of blood and turn it into a casino. So then, therefore, anything is for sale. And so then the problem is you got variation. It varies so much. You're constantly in fluctuation. That's where you get into the lava. There's always, if you're always producing, it's always producing more cash, more money, more money, more money. So if you're a good player, you can go out there and win you some stacks of cash. You can buy anything. Now that's the key. That's what they want. They want everything is open-legged, wide open. There are no locks, no anything. It's cash, money, brothers, cash out. Then I got to pay by being empathetic to showing the worship of cash. Lympathetic. The mansion in St. Louis. That's your Pax Blue Ribbon. Yeah, it's bizarre. Bizarre logic. So, new location here in Savannah. This ought to be a funny joke. So we'll have to see what happens now. I can't afford to go do anything. I just sit here and try it. Just like anywhere else. It's escape. It's rescue me, castaway, from my little Gilligan bubble island. And try to figure out a way to get out of here. So, yeah, who knows what's going to happen now? Well, I'll have to see.